Hello, and welcome to the first WCCWiki Colloquium. My name is Dr. Victoria Leonard, and I'm here to introduce you to today's event. Thank you to our host, the Institute of Classical Studies, to the Women's Classical Committee, and to my co-organisers, all of the contributors, and especially you as participants for making it possible. We're so pleased to be here today. It's disappointing not to be able to hold this event in person, and I'm sure we're all missing our physical communities and colleagues. But there are benefits to holding this event online, and not least, accessibility. We hope that pre-recording presentations and making them available online in advance, trying to really keep the event short, and scheduling plenty of breaks makes it more possible for a wider range of people to participate. If our event today proves successful, we would look to establish it annually. So please do get in contact with me or one of the other organisers, Richard Neville, Emma Bridges, Katie Shields, Anna Judson or Adam Parker if you have any feedback on the event today. One of the aims of this colloquium was really to bring our community together during lockdown when people are potentially more dispersed and isolated than ever before. And we wanted to provide a welcome distraction from the negativity and anxiety generated by living in a world with COVID-19. WCCWiki has been making the internet more representative since 2016 when we began. And editors have been accruing really valuable skills in that time, but often in isolation from one another. So we wanted to take this opportunity to bring our editors together to share resources and practical tips, to develop solidarity within our community, and to decide on future WCCWiki objectives, as well as generating effective strategies for fulfilling them. The colloquium provides a space for us to reflect on WCCWiki and our achievements, as well as being able to look to the future to see where we want to go. We're hopeful that the event today will attract new editors into our community, and if you're new to WCCWiki or you've never edited Wikipedia before, you are very warmly welcome. So let's begin with some foundations. What is WCCWiki and why is it important? Well, WCCWiki is an initiative organised by the Women's Classical Committee UK that aims to improve the representation of women classicists, very broadly conceived, on Wikipedia, the online encyclopedia edited collectively by a global community. But why is Wikipedia important? And what does it have to do with classics? Well, Wikipedia is the single most important archive of information in human history. The website is used by around 72 million people every day, receiving more than 9.6 billion page views in March 2020 alone. It is the 13th most visited website in the world, attracting more traffic than Amazon, Reddit, and Instagram. So Wikipedia is the largest and most influential repository of knowledge in the world. Those of us who invest in knowledge but maintain that we don't use Wikipedia and look the other way when our students do are operating within an illusion. If you use the internet, you use Wikipedia. Text-based search engines like Google and voice-enabled search applications like Siri and Alexa scrape Wikipedia for information. With instant answers, you don't even have to click on a link within a search engine like Google to consume information derived directly from Wikipedia. It functions as the interface between humans and knowledge. Foregrounding the importance of Wikipedia can hide an ugly truth. This interface between us and how we know things has a significant bias against women in their representation and also as editors. So between 84 and 91% of Wikipedia editors are male, and there's a very strong correlation between the dominance of men as editors on Wikipedia and there being only 18% of biographical pages featuring women. This bias is even more pronounced on classics. An estimate in 2016 found that only 7% of biographies on classicists on Wikipedia featured women. The absence of notable and path-breaking foremothers gave me serious #NoPageRage. In 2016, I co-founded WCCWiki with Emma Bridges, Kate Cook and Claire Millington to rebalance this gendered bias as part of the Women's Classical Committee's central objective to widen inclusivity and diversity in classics. So WCCWiki is entirely collaborative. We bring people of all genders together as volunteers, in person at training sessions and conferences, and through online sessions held monthly, usually on the 22nd of every month, to create and improve pages for women archaeologists, women historians, classicists, theologians, theorists, and philosophers. So really all types of women. WCCWiki has transformed the heritage of women in classics, both historical and contemporary, from a largely unrepresented online demographic to a highly visible and accessible part of classics. Around 450 Wikipedia pages for women have been created or edited, including those women whose achievements were entirely forgotten and who were only referred to on their husbands' pages, such as Dr. Miriam T. Griffin, Dr. Annie Professor Gillian Clark, and Professor Leslie Brubaker. Our pace of change means that on average, every other day, a women's page is created or edited. Our articles have featured regularly on Wikipedia's front page, and WCCWiki franchises have been inspired internationally, from Durham in the UK to Winnipeg in Canada to Ohio in the US. The initiative has been featured on the BBC, on The Guardian and the Times Higher Education, as well as in peer-reviewed journals. Our articles have received the Good Article classification, and WCCWiki has been integrated into undergraduate and postgraduate classics teaching at universities in the UK. But despite our successes, there is still a lot to do. Men are still fine on the internet, but women whose work you have used and who have made a significant contribution to the field still lack proper representation online. Despite the huge effort of WCCWiki, the scale of the problem means that the overall percentage of pages of classicists that feature women is only around 12.9%, which has increased from 7% in 2016. The WCCWiki data red list records 1,268 women classicists that still don't have pages, and those are only the ones that have been noticed and recorded. So that's why WCCWiki is important. And I hope that gives you no page rage and inspires you to join our community. There are lots of ways in which you can get involved. So really the first thing to do is to have a look at our project page on Wikipedia, which is really the archive for WCCWiki and records all the women we have made pages for and for those whose pages need creating or improving. You can also find plenty of resources on the project page, such as bibliographies and places to go to learn about Wikipedia editing. You can look at the hashtag WCCWiki on Twitter, which is where our community interacts generally and where we advertise our progress. The hashtag for today's event is WCCWiki 2020. Updates on WCCWiki are also featured on the Women's Classical Committee's Facebook page. So just by liking and retweeting our posts, you are doing important work in supporting the initiative. The next thing to do is to choose a neglected woman whose work you would like to work on, whose page you would like to work on, or to create and get started. In order to edit Wikipedia, it's best to create a Wikipedia account with a username and a password. There is so much information online about how to edit Wikipedia, especially on Wikipedia itself. So really, I think the best way to get started is to do some clicking around and read about how to start editing, as well as do some experimenting. We'll also cover some of the basics of editing in the Colloquium today, and we have a how-to discussion with our resident Wikimedian expert, Richard Neville, at 11:35 AM, so please do bring your queries. In terms of what the event looks like today, we've got 5 pre-recorded talks available on the Women's Classical Committee YouTube channel that will be streamed as part of the schedule. These cover topics such as WCCWiki statistics, race, notability, good article status, and LGBTQ+ editing. All talks will be followed by between 15 and 20 minutes of live discussion, which you are really warmly encouraged to participate in. I mentioned the how-to technical discussion, which takes place just before lunch. Lunch runs from 12:15 to 1:15 if we can keep to the schedule, and the day concludes with a final 20-minute discussion. So Emma Bridges has already given a short technical introduction to the day. Please do use the chat box to ask questions, make comments, and interact with participants. Please be polite and respectful to all participants. Harassment should not be tolerated at physical events, and it isn't welcome here. Please be comfortable, so if you need to turn off your camera and audio and have a break, make a drink, or attend to other responsibilities, please do feel welcome to dip in and out if you need. So to kick things off now, we've got Richard Neville's Spotlight talk on WCCWiki data and statistics, which will be 5 minutes long, followed by 20 minutes of discussion, and then we'll have a 5-minute break. Thank you very much for your presence and attention, and I really hope you enjoy the day's event.